There are places the living forget, but the dead never leave. Silent corridors where time stands still, where the scent of medicine and mold lingers long after the last patient's breath. This story is about one of those places, and one woman who claims she could still hear the ones left behind. Welcome to Midnight Myths, where truth fades and legend begins. Ravensbrück State Hospital was built in 1927, deep in the outskirts of Pennsylvania. At its peak, it housed over 800 patients, mostly from rural towns, the poor, the forgotten, the ones society had no room for. When it closed in 1976, it was said to be for budgetary reasons. But the real cause was something far more unsettling. Local rumors spoke of sudden deaths, unrecorded experiments, and long nights when screams echoed through the vents. After the last staff left, the hospital was locked and sealed. No one was allowed inside until 40 years later. Her name was Dr. Evelyn Hart, a psychologist and paranormal researcher from Philadelphia. She had dedicated her career to studying grief and trauma, the way memories haunt the human mind. But what drew her to Ravensbrück wasn't science. It was a whisper from her past. Her grandmother, Agnes Hart, had been a nurse there in the early 1950s, and on her deathbed she said 6 words that Evelyn could never forget. The shadows still speak in Ravensbrück. Evelyn arrived in late autumn, just as the fog settled low across the valley. She carried a small recorder, a flashlight, and a notebook. She planned to document what she believed was residual energy, trapped echoes of the past. The air inside was thick, colder than it should have been. Paint peeled from the walls in long strips like shedding skin. Every sound, the drip of water, the crack of floorboards, felt too loud. In the children's ward, she found tiny beds lined up against the wall, rusted frames and decaying sheets. Above one of them, faint crayon drawings still clung to the plaster, stick figures holding hands beneath a smiling sun. She pressed the recorder's red button.
Ravensbrück Hospital. November 3rd, initial walkthrough complete. Temperature reads 37 degrees. Still no visual anomalies. End of entry 1.
She stopped the recording. But the tape didn't stop. For 3 seconds, the tape hissed. And then a faint voice, distant, trembling, Guytrig said,
"Are you here for us, nurse?"
Evelyn froze. Her heart hammered in her chest. The voice was a child's. That night, Evelyn returned to her hotel room and replayed the audio again and again. The voice was real, unmistakable. No radio interference, no nearby transmitters. Just the soft echo of something that shouldn't have been there. She labeled it EVP-1, the child's voice. Determined to continue, she returned the next night, setting up motion cameras and placing recorders in every major wing. At 2:17 a.m., one of the cameras in the surgical theater captured movement, a shifting shadow along the far wall, where no light source could have caused it. The temperature dropped suddenly to below freezing. Her breath fogged the lens. And then, the voice returned.
We're still waiting, Nurse Agnes.
That name, her grandmother's name, repeated 3 times before the recorder shut itself off. Evelyn collapsed to her knees. Her grandmother had worked in the surgical wing, the same wing she was standing in. Days later, Evelyn gained access to archived hospital records kept in the county's storage facility. Among the files, yellowed brittle pages, she found a small handwritten notebook labeled Nurse A, Hart 1952. Inside, in faded ink, were detailed accounts of her grandmother's work at Ravensbrück. Most entries were ordinary Bach patient care, medication schedules, weather notes, until the last 2 pages. June the 14th, 1952. Dr. Keene ordered the experimental trials again. He says it's for the good of the patients. But the screaming, I can't stand it anymore. The shadows have started whispering. I think they know my name. June the 17th, 1952. The children say they see people walking the halls at night. Not the orderlies, not the nurses. Someone else, someone watching. And one final entry, dated June 19th. They took them to the basement. I tried to stop them. I hear their voices in the vents now. If anyone finds this, please tell them I'm sorry. The next day, Nurse Agnes Hart resigned. 2 months later, the hospital shut down a section of its lower wing due to contamination. That wing would later be sealed beneath concrete and rusted iron. Evelyn found the entrance hidden behind a collapsed wall in the eastern corridor. The door was old, iron, bolted shut, but the hinges had rusted. It took her nearly an hour to force it open. A wave of cold air poured out, sharp and metallic, carrying the smell of antiseptic and decay. The floor below descended into a maze of narrow halls, each lined with observation windows clouded by dust and age. She turned on her recorder.
Basement level. Ravensbrück Hospital. Time 11:42 p.m. I can hear something faint, like breathing.
She followed the sound into a small operating room. Stainless steel table, scattered tools, restraints still bolted in place. The recorder clicked. Then a voice emerged, slow, pleading, almost human.
You came back, Nurse Agnes.
Evelyn's flashlight flickered. For a moment, she saw a movement, a figure standing in the far corner, barely visible through the haze. Its outline was that of a woman, shoulders hunched, head tilted, wearing what looked like a nurse's uniform from the 1950s. And then, it was gone. The flashlight went dark. The door slammed shut. Evelyn's final recording lasted 17 minutes. In that time, she can be heard calling out for help, her voice breaking, her footsteps frantic. But layered beneath her words, dozens of others, male, female, young, old, overlapping whispers filling the space around her.
Don't leave.
The recording ends abruptly, with the sound of the recorder hitting the floor. When the search team entered 2 days later, the basement was sealed once again. No sign of forced entry. No trace of Evelyn Hart. Only her recorder, lying on the floor near the old operating table. The county report listed her as missing. Her body was never found. Her car remained parked outside the hospital gates, keys still in the ignition, notebook open on the passenger seat. Inside it, one final line written in shaky handwriting. They're not gone. They're listening. Today, Ravensbrück remains abandoned, condemned, fenced off, and forgotten. But locals still claim that on quiet winter nights, if you stand near the eastern wing, you can hear a woman's voice, calm, distant, whispering through the broken glass. Some say it's the wind. Others call her Evelyn. And some believe she finally found the shadows that had been calling her name. 2 months after Evelyn Hart's disappearance, the county sheriff's office returned to Ravensbrück Hospital to conduct an official search. They found her equipment scattered across the lower hallways. Notebooks, temperature sensors, spare tapes. One tape stood out. It wasn't labeled, but scrawled across its back in smudged ink were 3 words. Don't rewind it. Investigators ignored the warning. They pressed play. The melody was old. You Are My Sunshine. The same song listed in Agnes Hart's personnel file as one she used to sing to the children during night shifts. For the first 40 seconds, the recording sounded normal. Faint echoes of movement, soft tapping, like fingers brushing metal. Then the humming broke, a sharp gasp, and finally Evelyn's voice.
It's so cold. I can see them now. They're looking at me like they.
When investigators played the rest of the tape, they reported hearing faint cries in the background. Dozens of them, each whisper layered over the next, until it became unbearable. And then, a voice whispered close to the microphone.
You shouldn't have come back.
While the sheriff's report dismissed the recording as audio corruption, an independent journalist named Martin Kepler disagreed. Kepler was known for investigating abandoned sites and uncovering suppressed documents. In late 1997, he obtained internal hospital papers through the Freedom of Information Act. Among them, a memo dated May 1952, signed by Chief Physician Dr. Harold Keene, detailing Project Night Ward. The memo authorized controlled experiments on sensory deprivation and dream-induced therapy for a group of 12 patients, all minors between 6 and 12 years old. The purpose, as described, was to study how prolonged isolation affects the subconscious. They were kept in the basement wing for 6 months. Keene's notes claimed the children responded with elevated sensitivity to sound, temperature, and unseen presences. But the final line of the document sent chills through anyone who read it. Subject response escalating. Communication between test subjects and non-physical entities increasing. Recommend termination of program. 2 days later, the basement was sealed. The children's names were never listed again in any medical record. In 2001, a retired maintenance worker named Arthur Melrose came forward with a story that had never been told publicly. He was the last man officially contracted to enter Ravensbrück before it was condemned in 1980. His job? Inspect the building's structural safety. When shown a photograph of Evelyn Hart, Arthur paused, then whispered, "I saw her." He described walking the lower corridors with a flashlight when he saw a woman standing at the far end, pale, motionless, wearing a long gray coat. He called out, thinking she was another worker. She didn't answer. She turned, but her eyes didn't reflect the light, and her mouth was moving like she was talking to someone I couldn't see. When he stepped closer, she faded into the wall, not vanished instantly but slowly, as if the air swallowed her. Arthur quit his job the next day. He told no one until decades later. In 2004, a team of paranormal archivists, known as the Black Light Research Unit, gained temporary access to Ravensbrück with permission from the local municipality. Their mission? Capture electromagnetic and temperature data in the East Wing, where Evelyn's recorder was found. On the third night at precisely 1:03 a.m., all sensors in the basement recorded an energy surge, sharp, localized, lasting just 4 seconds. Simultaneously, every audio device on site captured the same sound, a heartbeat. Steady, slow, unmistakable. And then, a woman's voice.
She is still with them.
The group panicked, assuming interference or equipment malfunction. But when the data was analyzed later, the sound wasn't electronic. It was biological, matching the rhythm of a human heart. 2 months after the investigation, Martin Kepler received a package with no return address. Inside, a cassette tape and a letter written in cursive. "Mr. Kepler, you don't know me, but I was a patient at Ravensbrück. My name then was Elise C. I was 9 years old. I remember Nurse Agnes. She was kind. She told us to never follow the shadows when they called. But I did. I still dream of her singing. If Evelyn Hart went back there, she found what we left behind." The letter ended with a chilling final line. "Please stop them from opening the basement again." The cassette was blank, at least at first. But when played backward, faint laughter could be heard. Children and a woman humming "You Are My Sunshine." Cross-referencing old census and hospital records, Kepler discovered 12 children listed as residents of Ravensbrück Orphan Ward in 1951, all of whom vanished from documentation the following year. Their names were erased, their files marked incomplete. The hospital board chairman at the time resigned unexpectedly and later disappeared while traveling to Chicago. Some say he confessed on his deathbed that the children were taken below. No graves were ever found, no bodies identified. But ground-penetrating radar used by the Blacklight team in 2013 detected anomalous cavities beneath the concrete of the East Wing. Narrow and rectangular in shape, local authorities have refused to excavate, citing structural instability. In 2017, a live stream investigation of Ravensbrück drew over 2 million viewers in its first night. The stream was meant to be a 12-hour exploration of the upper floors. But at 3:07 a.m., the feed glitched, audio warping, the image fracturing into static. For exactly 13 seconds, viewers claimed they saw a woman standing in the middle of the corridor, facing the camera, hands clasped, lips moving. When slowed down, the footage revealed faint audio buried beneath the static.
Don't follow me.
The feed cut to black. The channel was suspended the next day. Some say what Evelyn experienced was psychological, a descent into obsession. That her grandmother's guilt manifested through her own trauma, echoing in her mind until the boundaries between reality and memory blurred. Others insist that Ravensbrück is a residual haunting, energy repeating endlessly, fed by grief and suffering. And then there are those who believe something else entirely, that the Project Night Ward opened a door, not metaphorically, but literally. That through isolation, sensory deprivation, and human despair, the doctors of Ravensbrück tapped into something that watches back, and when Evelyn came searching, it remembered her name. The county plans to demolish Ravensbrück next year. Developers intend to build new housing over the site, but every attempt to survey the land has failed. Cameras malfunction, batteries drain, and workers fall ill without reason. Each report ends the same way: equipment failure due to environmental anomaly. The walls remain. The wind still moves through the halls like a whisper. And somewhere beneath the concrete, if you listen closely, you might hear the faint hum of a lullaby and a woman's voice answering back. Because maybe Evelyn didn't disappear. Maybe she just crossed over into the echoes she had spent her life chasing. Maybe she became one of them. You've just heard the story of Ravensbrück, a place where memory, science, and the supernatural collide. If this story found you tonight, maybe it's because some voices never fade. Don't let the silence end here. Subscribe to Midnight Myths, where truth, history, and horror intertwine. Turn on notifications and join us for the next descent into the unknown, because the shadows are waiting.